grab yourself a brew, because this is Noontime History, the show. Hello and welcome to Noontime History, the show that brings you local history direct to your screen, no matter where you are, thanks to modern technology. Now, what have we got on our show today? Well, we've got our main feature, and we also have our regular features, like a glimpse into the past. We're also going to be adding a few newspapers into the mix. So, without further ado, I think we should go straight into our main feature. Here in Bourne, we are never short of a drink when we need one, with so many public houses to choose from. Pubs like the Smiths of Bourne, the Jubilee, the Red, the Nag's Head and the Burley. We even have the Sugar Mill on the outer edge on the new part of Bourne. And if the rumours are to be believed, here at the old JH1 shop, there is going to be a Wetherspoon who will join the long-standing tradition of pubs in Bourne. Now, there are a few pubs that have come about in the last 20 years or so, such as the Jubilee and Smiths. However, unlike these two pubs, most are well established in the town and have been serving the town folks for many a generations. Pubs like the Red, the Nags, the Burley and of course the Anchor. Some of these pubs have even had a name change in the past, such as the Burley Arms, which used to be called the Bull Inn. Then there are the pubs that have long gone and are now only a memory. Although with these particular pubs, the buildings still stand. These pubs are, to name a few, the Windmill Inn, the New Inn, the Marquis of Granby, the Light Dragoon, the Crown and the Angel. But for other pubs in Bourne, not even the buildings have survived, and soon even the name will be a fading memory for the likes of these pubs. The Old Wharf Inn and the Woolpack Inn in Eastgate, the White Horse, the Horse and Groom in West Street, the Railway Tavern in Osterby, the King's Head in Bedehouse Bank, and we mustn't forget the Butcher's Arm down Eastgate, which was destroyed in World War II by an enemy aircraft, which had crashed into the building. Pubs were once the centre for social entertainment, a place to unwind after a hard manual's labour, a meeting place for social clubs like the Bicycle Club. But right now, in 2019, there are far fewer pubs in Bourne than there has ever been, and I believe this is due to pricing of alcohol compared to the supermarket, technology and social change. The question is, can pubs survive the 21st century? Or will we see more of them close their doors for good, like the Royal Oak, the Crown and the Golden Lion? I guess only time will tell. So those were just a few of the pubs that were in Bourne. There were far more, and you can actually find these on Rex Needle's CD-ROM, A Portrait of Bourne, which can be found at Bulldog's Mill down South Street. And now that's open 2 till 4 on Saturday and Sunday. And it's worth getting the CD-ROM because you will find far more information than I'm able to tell you. Far more information. There's far many more pubs on that CD-ROM. And some of them I didn't even know. For example, the which one was it? It was the Railway Tavern in Osterby. And the King's Head in Bedehouse Bank. So, you know, it's worth taking a look. Now, we do have a few interesting facts, and I was told this by a customer of mine, and he said, it's random, but the tiles on the Derby and Jones, when it was first built, was made from wood. And he also tells me that he was allowed to use some of the leftover tiles for his dog kennel. So, it probably doesn't exist anymore, but there's a dog kennel out there with some of the leftover tiles from the Derby and Joan. But it's hard to imagine that the Derby and Joan having wooden tiles, but it did. And this one came as a bit of a shock. Actually came as a lot of a shock. And King's John Tower at Grimsthorpe Castle. Now, I don't know if many of you know what that was actually built for. See, a lot of people think that's was built for Grimsthorpe Castle. But I have since learned that this is incorrect. It was actually built for, wait for it, Wokingham Castle. Yes, Wokingham had a castle. And I didn't even know that. And that did really come as a bit of a shock, that Wokingham had a castle. And that the King John's Tower was the lookout tower for the Wokingham Castle. Now, when you go to Wokingham Castle, you do actually see that there's a sign there saying that there was a moat. But there, after the castle being pulled down, I believe years later, you have the House of Correction that was built on the site. Kind of makes sense if you've got a moat around it. It keeps them all in, doesn't it? But without further ado, I think we should now have a look at our next feature, which is a glimpse into the past. Some things in Bourne we just wouldn't give a second glance. Places like right here at the corner of Eastgate near the auction house. Today it's just a gravelled area of the car park, but when one looks closer, one can see that there is something unusual about the wall, like there is something missing next to it. That missing something is this building here, which was the old gas showroom, as was this building here, which can be seen in this picture. The gas showroom had domestic appliances on display, and it was also a place where one could query their account or see an actual person if they had any general problems. Situated behind this cottage was the gasworks. Sadly, the buildings were demolished in 1960 along with the cottage, and in its wake along came the BRM workshops. In fact, the people lining up in this picture are actually queuing to see the BRM cars, which were put on display for the very last time in 1981 before the cars were sold at an auction in London. In another picture, we see that this building used to be a grocer's by the name of Edward Werry and Sons. They traded as a tea dealer, provision merchants and tallow melters, although their main location was in North Street. There are many places like this in Bourne where history has disappeared almost without a trace. Almost. Thanks to these pictures, we can remember that Bourne is forever evolving, sometimes for the good and sometimes for the not so good. These pictures remind us that what we have one day, we can easily lose the next, and that what we have can be quickly forgotten. It's sometimes nice to stop for a moment and reflect upon the times that have been, to remember how different life used to be compared to ours in the present. And hopefully this way we can appreciate some of the things we may take for granted today. Now, it's quite hard to imagine that that area was the area for the old gasometer. It looks totally different now. Now, I believe the gasometer may have been in that area itself, but I'm not too sure. But I do know it was definitely, there was one on the other side, and as can be seen in that picture. But, obviously, as always, for more information, do pick up the CD-ROM by Rex Needle, because it has far more information. And remember, you can pick that up from the Bulldogs Mill, the Heritage Museum, and information should be scrolling now. But yeah, it's definitely worth picking that CD-ROM up, because we can give you some information, but there's far more information on that CD-ROM. And if you have any stories that you would like to share, then please feel free to contact us, and we will share your stories on our Facebook page or here on the show. Now, I do want to show you the papers, and the date of the paper for this one is Friday, June the 14th. Now, we have in it the D-Day. Oh, I'm so messy, aren't I? We have the D-Day veterans taking part in commemorations because it's the D-Day celebrations. And we also have the launch of Historic Bus Museum. Now, I've been to this, and I have to say, it is absolutely mega. They have put a lot of hard work into this, and funnily enough, the connection with the gasometer and the BRM and the buses, they're all connected, because the auction room that we saw was the workshop for BRM, but I believe, I don't know if they owned the whole lot at one point, but the buses actually had there was a house. Now I think might have a picture of it. We might have a picture. And if we have a picture, it'll be up now, and you can see that house. And this is where the drawings were taken, and they show this in there. It's not only just about the bus, but they do have some about the BRM as well, some information about the BRM. And there's a few buses in there that you can go and have a look. And it is just packed full of information. I think they've done a very, very good job. So that's the bus museum. And I can tell you when it's open as well. It will also be open, it will be open every second Saturday of each month from midday to 4 p.m. with donations welcome. Bit like the English, I'm trying to call it the English Heritage Museum. The Heritage Museum in Bourne. Obviously, it's run volunteer work, and so any donations are always welcome. So, and that's, again, Rex Needle's CD-ROM, the money for that goes to the I want to get English Heritage Museum. I don't want to see English Heritage Museum. It's the Heritage Museum. I really must sort that out. Right. They're also in the paper. They have a few what's been happening 150 years ago and 200 years ago. Wow. 150 years ago, I would say that fire. On Monday last, between 12 and 1 o'clock, the Lodge Farm at Ridlington, occupied by Mr. Taylor Pateman, situated in a valley about half a mile north of the village, was discovered on fire by two labourers named Rudkin, who were at work in a field a short distance from the spot. It originated some loose straw under a dilapidated hovel built of furze and wood. So there was a fire. 200 years ago there was a fire. And, oh, the Bourne local, again, pretty much get organised really. There we go. Bourne local, and we have Rex Needle's piece in here. When peace celebrations in Bourne ended in a riot. And again, that information is on his CD-ROM as well. And I think it was something to do with the Boer War. And I believe it ended, and it started off as a day of celebration, and I think it just ended up in complete drunkenness and setting things on fire. But they caught these like barrels of tar, and they would set these on fire. Now I've heard that they did this quite a lot with like rolling it down the street, and I don't know. I think it may sound like quite bad for us today, like somebody rolling barrels of flames down the street, which actually does sound pretty bad. But I think it was just normal practice. So even though it sounds like, oh no, they were setting things on fire, I think it was just normal practice for those kind of like celebrations to happen, you know. So it's not like, oh, we're going to set things on fire. I don't believe. But it did end up in unrest and arrest, a few arrests actually. So that's, again, just have a look on the CD-ROM. Now, that's all we have time for. So I want to say thank you for watching. Now I hope it's been informative and entertaining, and we'd love to see you again at the next show. So from us at Noontime History, it's ciao for now.